Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to go in and set up our Amazon machine images. And essentially, we're going to have two AMIs. We're going to have one little EC2 instance that we just use for writes. So whenever we want to update our site, we'll just go over to our static IP address, and we'll go and create a new post using that EC2 instance. We're then going to have a fleet of EC2 instances behind an AutoScaling group, and they're just going to constantly pull down updated images and assets from S3. So to keep it really simple, we've just got one EC2 instance here. This is what we're going to use to update our blog post with. And then when people navigate to imacloudguru.com, Route 53 is going to direct them to this fleet of EC2 instances. This fleet will constantly be polling our S3 bucket and pulling down the code, and then that's how we're going to design our site. So we're going to start by creating the AMIs of this EC2 instance first. So what we need to do now is go ahead and log into our EC2 instance. Okay, so I've logged into my EC2 instance. I'm in the var www.html directory. If I just go over to my etc and I go to nano and then cron tab, this is my cron file. Basically, cron is just like scheduled tasks for Windows. So it's a way of automating commands every few minutes or every few hours or every few days of the months, etc., etc., etc. So what we want this EC2 instance to do, or this AMI to do, is we want it to constantly be polling S3, and it's going to be looking for any changes that have been made to S3. And if there has been an S3 change made to S3, so perhaps a new blog post, or perhaps a new image file, it's going to download that. So these are going to be our reader nodes. So what we're going to do is we're going to poll S3, and we're going to do it every minute. So we're going to do star and then divide by and then 1. So we want to do this, run this command every minute. Then we're going to do this of every hour, of every day of the month, of every day of the week. So we basically want 4 stars here. And then we're going to run this, this command at root. And then what is the command to be executed? So what is it that we want to do? We want to run AWS S3, and then we want sync. So sync. And then we want to make sure that this synchronization is going to delete any files that don't match. So it's going to be a perfect copy. So we're going to use the delete marker. And then basically, what are we going to sync? Well, we're going to sync S3 and then the name of our S3 bucket. So my S3 bucket was called A Cloud Guru WordPress code -RJK. So A Cloud Guru WordPress code -RJK. And then where do I want to sync that to? Well, I want to sync that to my var www.html directory. So var www.html. So this is going to download all my code from our site to my var www.html. And I also want to do it for my media assets as well. Although technically this would actually just do it. So we could just leave it as that. Let's just leave it at that and keep it simple. So let's hit Control X and then save it, and then hit yes, and then hit enter. So that has now saved it. You can force cron to run just by restarting this the service. Let's go ahead and test this though. Let's go and upload a file to S3 and then see if that propagates over to our EC2 instance. Okay, so here I am back in S3. I'm just going to go over to my WordPress code. You can see it in here. We've got our WP content, which includes our uploads directory. So every time we do make a change, that will automatically be updated. We haven't done that yet. We're going to go and create that instance in a second. But let's go ahead and just simulate an update to this directory. So I'm going to go and upload a quick little file that I've made. It just says hello Cloud Gurus. So hello cloudgurus.txt. I'm going to go in and open that and hit upload. And that has now uploaded. If I just go back over to EC2, so I'm back in EC2. If I just go over to my var www.html directory and type in ls, there you go, hello cloudgurus.txt. I can just cat that, hello cloudgurus.txt, and you can see it says hello Cloud Gurus. So it has worked. Do wait a minute or two for it to actually do the sync, but you should work. If it isn't working, go back into cron and just copy and paste the actual command, so the AWS sync command, and then paste it into your clipboard, and then come out and just run the command and see, if you've done something wrong with the syntax, but it should definitely work. So this is now ready to be our reader node. So let's go back over to the AWS console. Okay, so I'm back in the AWS console and need to go over to EC2. And essentially what we want to do is now create this as our gold template for our web servers. So this is going to be our gold template. So let's go into actions, and what we want to do is go to image. We want to create an image of this EC2 instance. I'm going to call it my WordPress golden image, and then golden image for WordPress. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit create image. So that is now creating our image. I'm going to go ahead and hit close. If we go into images and click on AMI, you'll see that it is pending. I'm just going to pause the video and wait for this to come live. Okay, so that image is now live. So this is my golden image, and basically all it's going to do is consistently poll our S3 bucket, and it's going to try and get our code. What we want to do now is just change the existing EC2 instance so that we're going to use it as our write node, and it's going to be the one where we add new posts. So we just need to change cron, so instead of downloading stuff from S3, we want it to actually upload, because this is going to be our master copy. So let's go back over to our terminal window. Okay, so I'm back in my terminal window. I just need to connect in because it disconnected me while I was doing my AMI. I'm going to elevate my privileges to root, and I'm going to go and clear the screen. So we need to go over to the etc directory, and we just want to nano our cron tab. So nano cron tab. And in here, we want to change this command, and basically we want to do it the other way around. So I'm even going to do it twice. So I'm going to do it to two S3 buckets. So I'm going to do star, 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 star. We're going to run this every minute, and then we're going to run it at root, and we're going to say AWS, and then S3, and then sync, and then hyphen hyphen delete. So we're going to keep it all the same, but instead of syncing it to our WordPress, to our S3 bucket down to our EC2 instance, we want to do it the other way around. So we can leave this one up here, but if we just go across and delete this line here, so instead of, we want our var www.html syncing up to S3, if that makes sense. So in here we go sync, and then we want to sync our var www.html directory to our S3 bucket. And likewise, we want to do our var www and then html, and then it's wp-content, and then it's uploads. And we want to sync that over to our S3 bucket, and if we'll just quickly grab that. So I'm back over in S3, just grab the name. It was called, here we go, A Cloud Guru, and then Media Assets RJK. So A Cloud Guru Media Assets -RJK. So that will now basically take everything that's in our var www.html directory and our var www.html/content, and it's going to upload it to our S3 buckets. So I'm just going to go in and save that and hit yes, and then hit enter. And then I'm going to clear the screen. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and test this. So let's just go over to our var www and then HTML directory, and then you might just want to say echo, this is a test, and then we want to do that to test.txt. That'll create our test.txt file, which is in there. And then just go ahead and wait for 1 minute, and then go back over and have a look at your S3 bucket. Okay, so I'm back in S3. I'm going to click on A Cloud Guru WordPress code, and what we are looking for is the test.txt, and there it is there. And you can see it has synced approximately 1 minute ago. So it is definitely working. So we've now changed our baseline EC2 instance from being a reader node to a writer node. So if we go, let's go ahead and test this one more time. So I'm just going over to imacloudguru.com/wp-admin. I'm just going to log in, and there we go. And I'm going to go over to media, and I'm going to add one more file. Okay, so I'm just going to add one more file. I'm going to add a big Falcon rocket sitting on Mars, so the BFR, which is the new next generation rocket ships that Elon Musk is planning to send to Mars. Now you see here that it isn't loading. It isn't loading the image, and the reason for that is it's uploaded. It's already uploaded to our EC2 instance, but our URL rewrites is basically directing this over to CloudFront, and the image doesn't yet exist in CloudFront. So it can actually take a bit of time to propagate. It can even be in our S3 bucket, but CloudFront isn't yet displaying it. So you really do have to give it about 10 or 15 minutes to propagate propagate out to CloudFront. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to go away for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to refresh this page, and then hopefully we will be able to see the big Falcon rocket on the surface of Mars. Okay, so I'm back. I made myself some lunch. It is still not refreshing. One last thing I'm going to try, because when I hit refresh, it's not loading. If I just go over and go to Chrome, I'm just going to go in and clear my browsing data. Okay, so I've just cleared my browsing data. Let's hit refresh, and hopefully I'm going to have to log back in again, but hopefully that should be it. And there we go. There's our BFR right there. So it is now definitely working. So sorry about that. Basically, what happened was I synced an older version of the HT access where I hadn't changed or updated it to my CloudFront URL. As soon as I updated it in S3, my EC2 instances downloaded it automatically. So we are now all ready to go. Okay, so what we want to do now is create an auto-scaling group using the AMI that we created earlier. So we need to go over to auto-scaling, and we need to go ahead and click on auto-scaling groups. Of course, you must always configure a launch configuration first. So you see here, create or select a launch template, and then create your auto-scaling group. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm not going to use any of the Amazon Linux AMIs. I'm going to use my WordPress golden image. And then I'm going to use a T2 micro, and I'm going to call this launch configuration my WordPress launch configuration. The IAM role, I'm going to use my WordPress role for EC2. Advanced details, just leave everything as default. Go ahead and hit next. Next, we configure our security group. I'm going to use my existing security group, which is my web DMZ. Go ahead and hit review, and that is ready to go. And I'm going to use the key pair that I created earlier on, and go ahead and hit create launch configuration. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and create our auto-scaling group. So I'm going to call it my ASG for and then WordPress. And we're going to start this group with, let's say, 3 instances. In terms of my VPC, it's going into my default VPC. I'm going to click in here and just add all my subnets. Don't worry, basically autoscaling has intelligence built into it, so it's not going to put all 3 instances just in the one subnet. It's going to spread them evenly across. Down here, advanced details, we are going to receive traffic from 1 or more load balancers. Click in here for our target group. We're going to call it my WordPress instances. So it's not going to be our classic load balancer. It's going to be an application load balancer. The health check type, do we want to do this through EC2 or through our ELB? Let's do it through our ELB. And then we are going to leave everything else as default. And we'll go ahead and hit next to configure our scaling policies. I'm going to keep this group at its initial size. You could do scaling policies based off like CPU utilization or network throughput or something like that. I'm going to keep it really simple, and I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And to add notifications, so we may want to create an SNS topic for this. Let's go ahead and create a topic and give your topic a name. So it would be, I'm going to call mine my WordPress SNS. And then just type your email in here and then go ahead and hit next to configure your tags. So this is the tags. I'm just going to put name, and then it's going to be my WordPress ASG EC2 instance. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and hit review. That is all good to go, and I'm going to go ahead and hit create auto-scaling group. So that is now successfully going on to create my auto-scaling group. If we click in here, we can view the activity history, and we'll be able to see it as it spins up. If we go over to our instances and click in here, eventually we will be able to see our instances. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back over to auto-scaling groups, and I'm just going to watch this auto-scaling group in my activity history. You can see it's already launching 3 instances, but they're not yet in service. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to pause the video and wait for these EC2 instances to come up online. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit refresh in here. And there we go, they are all now successfully online. Now, if I actually go over to my Elastic Load Balancer, so if I just go down here to load balancing and go into target groups, hopefully we will be able to see our EC2 instances in the targets, and yes, you can. Now, you'll note that our write node is currently inside that target group. We probably don't want it to be in there. So let's go ahead and just hit edit, and we're going to remove this one from our target group so that when people go to imacloudguru.com, they're only going to hit our read nodes. They're never going to hit our write nodes. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. go ahead and hit save. And now we are good to go. If we go over to EC2, to our dashboard, we can go over to our running instances, and we can see if we just sort by name, I had an auto-scaling group fail up here, but don't worry about that. You can see our instances are online. Let's go over to imacloudguru.com. So I'm going to type in imacloudguru.com. It would help if I actually spelt it right. And there we go. It's loaded my website. There's the Falcon Heavy. There is Spaceman, Starman, I should say. If I open this image in a new tab, we'll be able to see that it is being served out of CloudFront. So that has all worked. And what I might want to do, if I just go back over to my management console and grab the IP address for my write node, you may even just want to add a tag in here. So this is our write node for WordPress, so we know which one it is. And if we just go back over here and go ahead and log in. So I'm going to go here to /wp-login. That's how we get into our .php. That's how we get into the login screen. And I have gone ahead and logged in. And we can go over to our media and see that we've got all three assets. Let's go ahead and do a new post. So I'm going to add new, and I'm going to call this post Welcome to Mars. And in here, I'm going to go add my media. I'm going to add the picture of the BFR on the surface of Mars. This is first Mars missions. And I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. Now that will publish to this IP address. So it has just updated all the code on this EC2 instance. And what we're going to do is we're just going to wait for the synchronization to happen. So in theory, it should take a maximum of 2 minutes before this is available on imacloudguru.com. If I actually just go over and hit refresh, you never know. Well, there you go. It's already done it. So welcome to Mars. So straight away, we've got our read nodes and we've got our write nodes. We update our site using our write nodes, and our read nodes will pull that down from S3 every 2 minutes. We can go through and simulate a failure as well. So we can go through and just fail. Let's say these two instances have, let's say the availability zone has gone down, and hit terminate and hit yes, terminate. So they are now shutting down. If you're a little bit patient, I'm just going to pause the video, but within a couple of minutes, we will be able to see more EC2 instances replacing those. Let's go ahead and try a refresh now and see what we see. So it has all terminated. There is only one EC2 instance running. If we go back over to our auto-scaling group, hopefully we'll be able to see in our activity history that we have had some that's terminated. If I just pause the video again, we should hopefully be able to see that it's going to be launching some new EC2 instances. And you can see already it says you're not yet in service, so it is relaunching those. And if we click up over on instances, I'll be able to see one of the instances that's coming up and running. So here's my WordPress one here. Here's another instance which is just initializing, which is why it doesn't have its name. But if we hit refresh, it will hopefully come up online. Another thing we can do to simulate failover is if we go over to services and go to RDS, we can actually go in and reboot our RDS instance. So if we click in here, this is how we can simulate a failure. If we just click in here and go to instance actions and hit reboot, basically our primary is going to fail over to our secondary. So that is it for this lecture, guys. You've done really, really well. We've created a fault-tolerant website. We have tested, by deleting EC2 instances. We can test it by rebooting our RDS instance. Our website is going to stay up. When you do reboot your RDS instance, it could go down for about a minute, but it's just waiting for that connection string to update, or rather the DNS to update to the new RDS instance. Now, feel free to go through and delete everything. So delete your RDS instance, delete your application load balancer, delete all your EC2 instances, your launch configurations, and your auto-scaling groups, delete the S3 buckets and tidy up. And then what we're going to do in the next lecture is have a quick look at CloudFormation and how it can just make this whole process so much faster. So if you've got the time, please join me in the next lecture. Thank you.